In theory, you can send money to an email. And I told you at the very beginning, we had this salt, right? What you can do is I'm sending you the salt. Just with the salt, I cannot steal your money because I need to log in with your Google account. But if I know your Gmail and I send you the salt, I can send you money now.
Oh yeah, that's
so now you can send money to your parents, even if they don't know what the blockchain is. And this will be huge, right? You only need to know their Gmail account, and then eventually you can send them money even before they are able to claim them. They will just go log in with Google with the salt that you were given to them, and voila, they have access to this account now.
Sui is a blockchain that is pushing the limits of cutting-edge technology in the blockchain space. Its technology stack is a reflection of what's possible when a group of engineers, cryptographers, and consensus experts with a problem-solving mentality, and also with the background of working with consumer application that has scaled to billions of users, enter the blockchain space. Applications like zkLogin and consensus protocol like Mysticeti is a perfect example of that. So this is a conversation with Kostas Kryptos, the co-founder of Mysten Labs and the architect of zkLogin protocol. We discussed about zkLogin and how it's onboarding millions of users into blockchain space with ease. We also discussed about other technologies like Pilotfish, the Mysticeti consensus protocol, and the possibilities of fully homomorphic encryption and zero-knowledge technology in the blockchain space. We also talked about Mysten Labs' multidisciplinary approach in problem solving, and also Kostas's private projects and why he's so bullish on this space. So without further ado, let's get into the conversation with Kostas. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Just the Metrics podcast. Today we have Kostas Kryptos as our guest. He is the ex-cryptography lead at Meta and a co-founder of Mysten Labs, the core company that is building Sui protocol. And he is the architect of zkLogin, one of the most used ZK-based application in the whole blockchain space. Welcome to the conversation, Kostas. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. We had a very interesting, fruitful discussion at Berlin like a few weeks ago. And yeah, we have so many things to announce even since then. It's crazy how evolution of cryptography is going in the last few months.
Yeah, I could actually feel how crazy it is just following your timeline, because every time you tweet, it is something new. It is something you really want to dig into. It is something you also tweet sometimes in a cryptic way. Oh, this is crazy what I have learned about FHE and CK. So I couldn't really wait to have this conversation. So before we get into all these details, it's like a cryptography is a very special field. It's a very, what you call like a high-end field. And you ended up being one of the people who are pushing the limits of cryptography in the blockchain space. How you started working with cryptography? What's your story, basically?
By the way, I started as a machine learning researcher and developer. So I was not a cryptographer forever. I studied in a university in Greece where it actually was the hub of many cryptographers that we know now in the world. Like we have Papamanthou, we have Fotini, we have many other people who are leading, for example, JP Morgan and other like cryptography hubs. And I was lucky to be in a space where, at least for a small country, there was the first cryptography hub in the country. However, before my time, there was not really like innovation, or at least you were doing mainstream cryptography, basic encryption, digital signatures, and all of this. And back then, we created some machine learning algorithms to predict for prediction markets. Literally, we could predict a few things that will happen in the world, including outcomes of soccer games and other things. And imagine our whole system was to build some of the first neural networks, and then having all of this data, we could really even find out which team will win in the next game and all of this stuff. However, our university server was hacked. And my account was hacked. And then I realized, oh my gosh, we're doing all of these things. And eventually someone is getting all of our data. And then I realized, okay, I have to not switch completely topics, but because for a while I was doing parallel, but I said, I need to learn how people are hacking stuff. And then this was the trigger, actually myself, and then my professor there, who was a mathematician. Imagine there is a correlation between machine learning and cryptography. And some people will say, okay, how is it difficult to jump from one to the other? I would say yes. It is, because all of you have, these synapses on how you can like address all of the mathematical like correlations. And this helped me actually on 2003, I think, like 21 years ago, to jump into the cryptography space. And then I switched completely career from machine learning. I went to cryptography. And my first project, by the way, in the crypto space was time capsules. So I've built one of the first production-ready applications for sending messages to the future. And then imagine after 10, 20 years, you will see, oh, that day someone predicted this. And it will be announced in 20 years from now.
But even as a cryptographer, you are not like, you are still oriented on some kind of products, building products where your focus, I think, from that.
Exactly. I will tell you actually something that is very interesting, even at Facebook, right? As you mentioned at the very beginning, I was leading the cryptography at the Libra project, the blockchain of Facebook. And I was also doing other stuff on WhatsApp and other teams internally. Something I realized is there are in practice three particular paths that someone can do in cryptography. One is completely theory. So you're advancing the field on a state where new algorithms are emerging, but they're not necessarily applicable today. For example, we might say quantum encryption and other things that people were working like 20 years ago. Back then, it wasn't like super mainstream. Maybe now post-quantum cryptography is happening like more actively. There is the one which is like completely doing engineering on cryptography, literally having the algorithms from others, like the theories that I mentioned before, and then you are implementing them in a way that is optimized, that it's safe, secure, and all of this stuff. And there is something in the middle. This is where I am. At the moment, I'm doing with the help of my team, of course. By the way, nobody can do it by themselves. Something I realized, having grown in a very small like country, I didn't have many people around me, so I can upscale my other skills, like both engineering and mathematics and like advanced cryptography. But after I met a few like people who helped me on different sides, now I categorize myself into the applied cryptography with some theoretical innovation. This is how I personally say both myself and the style of the people who are working for us are. And this is because at Facebook, we also realize that, yes, you can delegate a few things about theory in one of the best universities in the world, but Facebook is not like a university, right? It's not an academic institution. At the same time, we cannot just coding, because doing just coding and not understanding the theory, imagine under Facebook, it could be a disaster.
You focus on products, you push the limits. So just focusing on theory would have been catastrophic in Facebook. Yeah.
Exactly, both of them, right? Just focusing on engineering would be catastrophic, focusing on theory would be catastrophic. And then we gradually created a team. Back then, actually, it was under the management of the research organization that is the CEO now of Mysten Labs, like Evan. Evan Cheng was the creator of the whole research team. And this helped me. I was lucky also to sit like next to Sam, who is now our CTO in Mysten Labs, and Sui, who helped me like advance my more innovation on the development side. And that's why myself, and probably now if you see all of the cryptographers working, applied, as I said, applied and theoretical cryptographers that are working for Mysten and Sui, they're pretty much the same style. All of us are doing cryptography that can be used now. And when you see some of my tweets, sometimes I agree with you. I say like, in a cryptic way, you will see some advancements in Growth 16 or some other zero knowledge proof, crazy stuff, magic. It's happening. I already get experimental results. And then, obviously, I have to wait until we make the security proofs and everything. And then, in 2 months, you will see, oh, here is a new protocol about zero knowledge and all of this stuff. This is how we work. So, classify me wherever you want. And don't be surprised if in the future I go back to machine learning again, or somehow I combine cryptography with machine learning. It's in the back of my mind. It's in the back of my mind.
This is a topic that we should get into somewhere in this conversation, because there is some overlap between both these fields, and that could be leveraged. Maybe we can go into that at some point of this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, of course I can. I have at least 2 topics there that are very fast to explain to people. Get me into the action, and gradually you will learn more about this things.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's first talk about zkLogin. So zkLogin was such a fresh application because we in crypto, like we all had this these seed phrases, all these complex stuff, which actually made it so difficult to act for some normal person to start setting up a wallet and trying to interact with these systems. And zkLogin was so cool. I was using it, created my Sui wallet, and just with a couple of clicks, I was like, oh, I can log in with my Google ID. And that was mind-blowing for me. And it is no wonder that it's one of the most used ZK-based application in the whole blockchain space. When did you start thinking about it, this particular product? What was the origin of zkLogin?
Okay, let's start with the history of it, how the inspiration came on that we need something like this, right? Imagine working for Facebook, and before I leave, we also had some collaboration with the Instagram team to have, NFT for creators and all of this stuff. When you go to social networks, you realize that, not everybody is like you. Like maybe you have password managers and you know how to protect your secrets and all of this stuff. 99, probably even more of the percent of population, they don't know how to keep secrets, especially if you want secrets that are having enough entropy that are not breakable, right? This is a problem. And then we realized, okay, what can you do? What do we have today? We have biometrics, we have other things, but most of the people are now familiar with logging in with Facebook and Google and Apple now. These are the three more popular methods to log in. Can we make it like somehow to put this on the blockchain? But on the blockchain, you cannot easily do it without advanced cryptography. You have to encrypt them. And the reason is, now when you're doing login with Google, typically what you do is you go to a backend server of Google, and the backend of Google will verify this. But on the blockchain, there is no one backend server. There is like a committee. Everything is public. You cannot just go and log in with Google on the blockchain, right? Plus, you need to collaborate with Google and Facebook and Apple with this. So I tried, and I was having all of these thoughts, how can we find a system where somehow we don't require to go to each one of the providers and say, we need your help, we need to change your protocol, because this will take years. There is no way this will happen very quickly. And then obviously, typically, whenever you have a problem that you don't know how to solve it, your mind is thinking zero knowledge proofs. Everybody will say the same thing. Let's see if we can do zero knowledge, because anything else cannot really work. Even if you do MPC and other things, you will need some either centralized place, or you need to change a few of the applications for recovery. Many things that should happen. And I was in a trip in Mexico, and now the real story comes. And I was the only one, because I'm of a Greek origin, even if I used to live in the US. And I was the only one who was European in this trip. And then obviously in the borders, they made more checks on me. And then I realized, why don't I have a stamp like from the US that I'm also a resident in the US? I'm not just like someone coming from the US to Mexico. And then I said, okay, we need to find a certificate type of this stuff. And then the most important stuff is we went to a restaurant, and they didn't serve salt on the table. Like it was very sweet. The meat was very sweet. I needed to put some salt. And then I realized, okay, now we have the certificate and we have the salt. And you're getting into the next level. Oh, maybe just certificate is not enough, because again, you will reveal that it's Google. But what if I can add some secret information, right, inside it? And then it was the salt information that actually created some new ways of thinking how we can do it. And obviously, if you know how to do zero knowledge proofs, now you're done, right? You have everything that you need to create the system. Then we went back. I put all of my team. Let's have like pretty much as an emergency. And we hired one of the cryptographers that used to work on a project called DECO in Cornell University, Deepak Maram. And with Deepak, because this guy has already created a committee-based method to verify something that is happening off-chain without necessarily having Oracle signing, right? Sounds slightly different. We sat all together, and then we realized, oh my God, it's possible now to do it. And the only problem that we had, imagine if you're coming from Facebook again, we have to do it in 2 seconds. Because people cannot wait, right? Even if you use generically zero knowledge or MPC, these protocols sometimes are expensive. And then the technology at the moment, it is there, but at the same time, they're not super fast. So we had to do so many innovations. How you can take the string, the base 64 encoding of the things that are inside this type. It's not a cookie, but it's like a response from Google, signed response from Google. How we can snark it, how we can use zero knowledge proofs on top of it. And then we managed to put a higher limit, which is like for your browser, and participate in ceremonies and all of this stuff, it's typically 1 million gates. If you manage to do it in 1 million gates, then we can do it in not sub-second, but very close to the second.
Okay.
And this is how it all started. And at the same time, after we finished, you shouldn't say that, oh, now we're ready. Now we went with our design to some funk companies, like the big companies who are our providers. Here is what we have. We don't need to ask you, right? I mean, we can do it now. But they had more requests. Oh, you know something? Myself, as I'm using a random name now, as Google, I don't want to track the accounts on chain. Oh, don't worry. We have a solution for this as well. And some back and forth. Eventually, we had a solution. Boom. And we implemented it. And it's now the most used zero knowledge proof application in the world. I don't believe there is any other place where, because it's on the account level, right? We're not doing the L2s where you are accumulating all of the transactions into one zero knowledge proof for thousands of transactions. It's per account. Per account, you need a zero knowledge. There is no aggregation. There is no other tricks that you can do. And because of this, like regular people, it's probably the most used protocol with advanced ZK that we have at the moment in the world. And I'm very happy about this, only because it exists as a like the mainstream application of ZK at the moment. And so that's the story of zkLogin.
Yeah, that was a perfect example of how ZK could be leveraged for the adoption of crypto-based application, right? Once you have deployed it, did you get responses? Oh, why we did not think of it? Or
how did
you come?
I can tell you for sure. There is one professor, probably one of the best in the sector of oracles and identity, who got back to Deepak and myself, actually Deepak, like one of my co-authors, and said, how come we haven't thought about it? Yes. No, this was the real comment. I still have the Slack like message somewhere. It happened because, look, the reality that people wanted to do this, like having identity on chain somehow, but hiding the identity, because this is what you want, right? You want to log in with Google, but nobody should know your Google account. But still, you also don't need any other secrets. Only you're logging with Google and Facebook. Everybody was thinking about it, but probably the technology was not there, Suraj, on this. Like many people were thinking like more abstractly, let's do it. How do you do it? But also on the blockchain, you need to sign transactions. Just proving your identity is not enough. Right? So we had to embed into the request to Google, we had to embed the public key. And then there was like a parallel work from some other researchers that probably you can do something in this thing that you are sending to Google. You also tell them, oh, this is my public key. And then eventually we combined all of this knowledge along with the expertise that we had on optimizations. And believe me, optimizations was also another thing, because a lot of people are talking about proving. If you have per account, per transaction, a zero knowledge proof verification, you have to have like a blockchain that is very fast on verifying these proofs. And we did foundational like optimizations into the verification algorithms as well, because SUI, like compared to other blockchains, what we are also advertising is super fast blockchain. You cannot have a system, even if it's zero knowledge, that delays everything. Because in practice, we want to reduce latency to the minimum levels possible, like going very close to speed of light. And you also want to have the maximum transaction per second, even if the user is using advanced cryptography. And this was the cherry, like on the top of the cake, that we had the team to actually implement it. I believe many people were thinking about it in the last 5-10 years. Nobody could do it because you need all of this like green substance, brain substance to work together to make it possible. I'm telling you, at the end, it was like 10-20 people working on this in the company. From the product side to cryptographers and everybody. Even Adeniji is our product co-founder. Adeniji was the first one that said, there is no mnemonics anymore. Game over of mnemonics. I mean, he was coming every morning and said, no mnemonics. That was his motto. And we did it, right? We did it.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I wonder, this was supposed to happen through Mysten Labs, considering your background from Facebook, coming from such a background. If it were like a lot of crypto native people, it's all normal. And somehow you lose this ability to think outside the box. Like the thought process was somehow blocked for crypto native people, and some real engineers has to come out and solve these problems.
That's a good point. That's a good point you are making. Look, the reality is projects like zkLogin is not that they're going to accommodate everybody. Like people who used to have mnemonics and the digits, and especially if you're handling a lot of money, you might not even want Google to be one of your authenticator factors, maybe as a second factor. But obviously, coming from an organization like a big one, like Meta, Facebook, you understand what the mass of the people is actually doing. right? And probably I agree with you. You might have all of these like triggers that you say, how do you, I mean, just with DGens, we will like stay in a stagnant environment of just a few millions of users. We can do more advanced parts with blockchain. You need to attract the other audience, right? And if we see how many people are unbanked in the world, they only know how, maybe they don't even know how to have an email or Facebook, right? But at the least, probably people who are in as part of the economy, they will understand how to do this, right? You cannot go tell them, remember 12 words. And these words, especially people who are not even English is not their first language, you shouldn't think that they could remember all of these difficult words, right? There are words like, I mean, mosquito. If you ask the average person in the world how mosquito is written, they don't know how to write it, right? So in practice, we had to find another solution. And there is another benefit here. People are forgetting their passwords. Do you know how many people have asked me, oh, I forgot my mnemonic, how do I recover it? They don't have a copy, right? However, if you do, people who are used to this, if you lose your Google account, you can still go and like you have sometimes 2FAs and other things like questions they are doing to you, and eventually you can recover that account, and as a domino effect, you can recover your Sui account. So in practice, we will accommodate all of the, I believe, with these technologies, and I don't believe the technology, the innovation will stop in our zkLogin. There will be more things happening in the future, including our own extensions of zkLogin that I will explain later in this talk. The mass of people is opening the door for mainstream Web 2 companies to come into Web 3. And in my opinion, even if we say that we're helping the users to onboard on the blockchain, in my opinion, we're also helping other companies that didn't think of blockchains before to target now a market which has more people, not just DGens anymore. It's like more casual people. It might be like, I don't know, my parents, my wife, other people who are like technical enough to have an email and Facebook, but not like so careful on their security. So that's our personal point. And you know, if you're in an organization with 2 billion users like Facebook, you understand the impact of this, right? It's huge. So I agree with you. It might be the case that we were triggered internally, that there is another element of the population, like part of the population, that cannot work with how the system works at the moment. You need another system. So your point is good. Yeah, you're right.
That's exactly what I was thinking, because I was looking at it and I was thinking, yeah, it's obvious that Mysten Lab solved it, because looking at the people working there, it's obvious. But if you think about very crypto native people, are there some security risk for them to have some maybe 10K or some real amount money connected with an account that is created through zkLogin? So
look,
what are the risks? Is there the risk, or is there some things that we have to be careful?
There is always the risk that Google will shut down one day.
Okay.
You don't have Google, right? There is no way to log in. However, something that we did in Sui is we allowed multi-sig. So people can combine mnemonic and Google, and now with passkeys, we're working with biometrics and login with Facebook. You can even do Google or Facebook. You can even do Google and Facebook. You can do many things, right? And this, I believe, will be a new set of wallets that will emerge in the industry. And people can use this at least as a 2FA, rather than like for the people who are having a lot of money on chain, right? This is what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
And these folks, actually, if they know how to remember mnemonics and they know how to back it up and all of this stuff, I don't believe they will change. Like, I'm honest with this. I can understand, like, if you know how to use mnemonics, it's like you're using mnemonics. But even myself, then I realized the other thing. There are situations in the world, and I believe you do it as well, where you have multiple credit cards or multiple accounts or multiple credentials. And in some situations, you prefer convenience rather than security. Like, very quickly, if you go for a coffee, you can have a wallet that is super fast and buy coffee in Starbucks or in other places, right? And maybe you can even have like your first interaction with the blockchain, and gradually you can change to more advanced, like secure methods, because now also you're more educated. The problem is the first step of the people who are approaching the blockchain, they're like shocked by the complexity and the terms that they see there, like some buzzwords, ZKP, you know, there is like blocks, and there is I don't know, height of the chain and all of this stuff. People cannot understand how it works. So you should hide the blockchain completely. And actually, there are wallets now, because as you said, log in with Google. You can open an account, and you play a game. You log in with Google, and you don't even understand that there is a blockchain behind it. There is also this magic of like walletless experience that, I mean, people are now getting into the blockchain space without even knowing there is a blockchain behind them. And then eventually, okay, we've airdropped something to you, and probably now you are part of the blockchain. You didn't know, but you can participate now. So in my opinion, this is a big step, right? I mean, it's a leap on how we see things and how people will come to us, to the blockchain ecosystem in general. So yes, degens or people who are getting gradually more advanced, more educated, might use it as 2FA, in my opinion, or they can stick to the other systems. And then for convenience, they will also have a zkLogin account.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. And you touched upon a point about speed and having zkLogin, because I was in Paris when the Mysticeti announcement was made. And it's getting even more faster. I was reading through the paper. I'm preparing to write a piece on it. This focus on speed, I can see that Sui is like really focusing on these verticals. So why is it like important to have a really fast blockchain?
Many things. Imagine that the Visa network at the moment is like many thousands transactions per second, especially in some days like, I don't know, Christmas, New Year's Eve, where you have to have people actually doing purchases on like buying stuff. The blockchain, however, is a network where you have games, you have DeFi, you have like any other, like all of the other interactions that we have, like with new applications. Some people are doing real estate on chain. You might want to have a very, like even governmental KYC and other operations on the chain. You don't want other applications, because they do have an airdrop at that time, your application to go down and not being able to be served just because there is activity elsewhere.
Yeah.
The only way to solve this problem is having a super fast blockchain that can identify or accept actually as many transactions as the community can provide to the network. And imagine if you go to the gaming sector or even high frequency trading, you need also very low latency. TPS, sometimes we're only talking about TPS, but TPS is a very generic, like transactions per second. It's a very generic like term that doesn't always tell the truth. Because imagine if you have a transaction being executed every 10 minutes. 10 minutes is not enough for competitive games. You cannot play a game with 10 minutes. Even if every 10 minutes we had billions of transactions, waiting for 10 minutes wouldn't work for most applications, right? So at the same time, we had to solve the problem of latency and being able to have high TPS. And then we realized many big gaming brands are coming to us, because now they say, wow, this is a sub-second finality. And at the same time, you have all of these like extra features. You have a new language which is safer, compared to Solidity, because you learned from the problems of the past. And you have all of this, more advanced cryptography and other things. Why not try with this blockchain? And this is creating a domino effect. Now, in people's mind, it is that blockchains are not necessarily a barrier, are not having a barrier on like how many commands you can execute, right? This is like pretty much of the past, because many thousands of transactions per second. It's not only us, it's Solana, it's also other blockchains out there that we've proven that this is possible now. And now that this is possible, it's opening the door. Imagine you are a traditional Web2 company. I mean, imagine you're doing energy. And you have to provide more transparency about your energy, right? I mean, every house is burning some electricity from wind power, solar, blah, blah, blah. And you have to have like many transactions on chain. You want this to be cheap as well. Because the other thing is, now with less latency and probably higher TPS, do I pay more? Because it's a premium service now. No, you have to have the servers to burn the minimum energy, the minimum like cost to actually optimize how much do you pay like per command. And this is what we managed to do. And this is not part of my team, right? It's like I'm the cryptographer in Mysten Labs. We also have the other co-founder, which is George. George Danezis is probably one of the best names in consensus. And we have Alberto Lefteris, Igor, many other like big brains that they're working on optimizing consensus. If you tell me what's the main benefit of Mysten Labs compared to other companies, and that's why Sui is there, is we don't have a specialization on one element of the blockchain, right? We're not all cryptographers. There are companies where everybody is a cryptographer, even on the founding team. There are companies where everybody is a software engineer. There are companies where everybody is like some financial expert, right? Or product. In our company, if you see, like, get the founders and then get the leadership team that are like at the founding round. They're all of different background.
Yeah.
And you need the expert on programming languages. You have the CTO, like a new language that can work with very fast transactions.
Yeah.
You need cryptographers, that you need fast cryptography if you want to have very low latency and high TPS. And you need obviously the people who will create the system, like the consensus, which is like the crystal ball that everything is running there. So this is what we have at the moment. At least these three elements, you should have some of the best researchers and developers in the world. Otherwise, how can you do that, right? Imagine if I was crazy and I say, look, we're going to support post-quantum cryptography, and we need 3 minutes to verify a transaction, right? I mean, they would kill me in the company, right? I mean, we're not advertising this. So, if you work with these guys, there is some triggering that you're getting from them, that you have to work on something that as a whole is super fast. Right? You cannot just propose random features and, zkLogin might be too expensive, and then it wouldn't be possible.
Yeah. And it's hard to get misled by your own convictions, because you have to actually get it before all these people and like bulletproof it before, and you get like incredible feedback. That's why I think Mysten Labs is like a all-star team. It's like a dream team that any blockchain would like to have, actually.
I can give you a hint now. Before I joined Mysten Labs and while at Facebook, I could join another team, which is also a big blockchain in the world. I cannot tell you what other team.
It's an NDA.
The reason I came here was because of who was in the founding team of Mysten. Okay. Right? I mean, when you see Evan, who was leading the research at Facebook on the Libra project, when you see Sam was probably one of the youngest people at Facebook being promoted at this level, and he's the CTO, creator of Move. You see Adeniji, who was coming like from one of the first mining in the UK, and then, permissioned networks. There is also permissioned and permissionless, and then he moved to Libra on a permissionless setting. He's product guy, myself from cryptography, and then George, who's the expert on consensus. You cannot say no. Right? Yeah. How can you say no? I mean, obviously, you understand that the missing puzzle is cryptography, and you're a cryptographer. I mean, you should go there. And I'm not going to another company that all of the other three are cryptographers, because now I might actually, all of us might have the same way of thinking. And as you said before, you have your own convictions sometimes. Now, whenever I propose something, I have Sam who is raising his hand. Okay, I want to see it. Does it work with Move, or it's creating any problems? And then you go to George's team, to consensus, and say, look, this has happened, right? If you ask me, zkLogin is one of the success stories, but there are other research outcomes that they didn't cross the line of production, because we still have to make it work with everybody being aligned. We have a consensus, right? And the fact that we're 5 founders, it's also easy. 5 is a prime number, so you need 3 out of 5.
Yeah, it's an incredible place you're at right now. And like in that perspective, from like all the feedback you got from your team, like what are the next steps for zkLogin? What are the features that are coming in? How would it further evolve?
Exactly. Let me give you some hints, by the way. So at the moment, everybody is talking about zkLogin as being an onboarding mechanism. Do you know that something else can happen in the future? The other thing is you can send money to someone without them having an account.
That's crazy.
Right?
I can't imagine that.
Right. You have it. You have it with Venmo. You have it with Revolut. You have it with some other applications, right? I don't know if PayPal is also allowing this. In theory, you can send money to an email. And I told you at the very beginning, we had this salt, right? What you can do is I'm sending you the salt. Just with the salt, I cannot steal your money, because I need to log in with your Google account. But if I know your Gmail and I send you the salt, I can send you money now.
Oh yeah, that's
so now you can send money to your parents, even if they don't know what the blockchain is. And this will be huge, right? You only need to know their Gmail account, and then eventually you can send them money even before they are able to claim them. They will just go log in with Google with the salt that you were given to them, and voila, they have access to this account now.
Crazy. Because payments are going to be are already a thing. This is only going to grow, and from that perspective, this is an incredible feature.
Yes, and there is also the other thing. Very recently, we had SUI NS. If you don't want to go to Gmail, people who will buy like domains, I can send money to a domain now, and this domain just needs to prove that I have access to this domain without necessarily revealing a few other stuff. Like when we say zkLogin, now you know about Gmail and Google, but everybody who can have an OAuth provider can be a zkLogin supporting service. I don't know what people can do with that. Maybe we'll see phone numbers on chain. This is something that I cannot predict, right? Maybe you can send money to a phone number. Maybe you can do other things that now it was impossible unless you had the committee and other things. But with zero knowledge proofs, it might be possible. There are other situations, and we're working on this at the moment, where maybe you don't want to reveal your full Gmail, but there are situations that someone wants to airdrop to people that are coming from Brazil. So if you have a I don't know what BR, what do they use in Brazil? Then you have access to this. So log in with your log in with some account that is having a Brazilian domain name. And if you can prove you are one of them without revealing your real email, you have access to this money. So you can probably see some extensions on zkLogin for discoverability as well, and geolocation and other things that will help people airdrop to particular people, right? To particular set of audience. So one is claimability, the other is discoverability, and the other is anything that you can do with partial revealing of information, not the full. You don't want to reveal your email on chain, but something else can happen that can help you create new products on the blockchain that was not possible before.
Crazy.
Right? These are at least 3 elements that I can see like as a direction of zkLogin. And the other one that is already baked into the blockchain is multi-sig. People will use them as 2FAs. If you don't want to be just Google, you can have a mnemonic, keep it in your vault forever. You never use it until Google shuts down. And then you recover it by your mnemonic. So we will see situations, and we allow up to 10 like methods in a multi-sig. People can do crazy stuff that I cannot predict personally. If you ask me, zkLogin is a protocol. Yeah. I'm not having any convictions that you have to use Gmail, Facebook, whatever you do. Application developers and wallet developers can build their own stuff on top of zkLogin. Nobody stops them. And that's why we built it as a protocol, right? You don't need Mysten for this.
Yeah. Yeah. And that part where you said, you can send money to anyone, like from a claimability perspective, how can I connect something to that and withdraw the money to, like, how that part works?
Because the address is generated by your identity plus the salt. So if I send you the salt and I know your identity, you are the only person who can claim it. Nobody else can do it.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
So I can send it before. In theory, I can even send it to an email that doesn't exist. Whoever goes first and creates this email, they can get the money.
Yeah, this is some kind of game you can play with. Okay,
yeah.
You can give some clues, and okay, if you claim this Gmail, you can get that money. That would be
exactly.
A cool game.
No. This is very right what you're mentioning. In practice, yes, you can create new types of games where you can do that. I'm also working on something like it's more fun, but a lot of people want to create campaigns and give it like to their users at Facebook, Instagram, and so on. How do you do it now? They have to have accounts, right? You cannot tell them go and create a mnemonic and all of this stuff. We will see it. People will try to connect zkLogin with other identity services very quickly.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for that to see that evolution. And this will play a huge role in Web3 adoption because this is one of the features we waited for long. And do you think that for gaming, this particular feature is like very useful for gaming perspective? Because I think SUI focuses there are like a lot of games that is going to launch or like working with SUI.
This is a chicken and an egg. I'm surprised. Okay. So based on your knowledge and I don't know how social networks are serving the content to you, you believe that SUI is focusing on gaming. I can tell you that because of TPS and latency and other things, gaming sector is picking SUI because of this stuff. It's not. We had this discussion before, right? I mean, if you are a fast blockchain and you are a secure blockchain, and there are companies that they also want people who are reputable behind it, right? I mean, I will never risk my reputation just going away like rug pull and all of this stuff, right? Yeah. I'm a serious person. There are situations that these people like gaming companies are picking SUI because of all of these good features, not us being a gaming chain necessarily.
It's
happening. It's happening because this is the the features that the gaming companies want. And they find it in, I don't know how many blockchains are at the moment that can offer this. I believe we're the best because of all of the combinations, right? Now, some of the games, by the way, they're now working on their own silo. And they do have a login with Google and Facebook to have their users. They can switch to blockchain without changing the UX. Because how do you do it elsewhere? You need to provide a new wallet, right?
Yeah.
And there is, with zkLogin, you can even have embedded wallets into the applications. Imagine you have a mobile game that has an embedded, that previously had login with Google. Now there is still login with Google. Nothing changes.
Yeah.
But in the background, you're having an account.
Yeah.
So obviously, many games who are already incorporating this OAuth authentication, it's very easy for them to come to zkLogin. Why not? They already have, it's also non-custodian, right? This is very important because sometimes you need licenses and other stuff. And at the same time, they can start gradually, like originally giving some NFTs or tracking the actions of the game on chain. And like you have a leaderboard, which is like more verifiable, transparent. And then down the road, they can give them assets, or people can trade assets, or can monetize from this. I believe this is the main reason. The UX on gaming has to be as less distracting as possible, which means that zkLogin is one of the ways that the wallet is completely hidden from the user.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because you can only go forward. You cannot make the user experience worse to integrate blockchain. You have to keep that user experience, keep that latency. You cannot wait more than 5 seconds for people to, even less. So that keeping that, which blockchain is the best place for us to integrate something, then the obvious choice becomes. Yeah. So now I understand, because it was sometimes it's the narratives are a bit...
The neck, chicken and the neck problem, right? Is it Sui that was created for games, or games because, if you do as a game theory, you come to Sui because that's the option you have, right?
Yes.
It's both ways.
Yeah. And talking about games, last, I think 2 days back, you made a tweet that is also in a very cryptic way. I think I should read that tweet. So this is so transparent and unbiased on-chain randomness will reshape gaming industry. And I'm not referring to the gambling sector only. The same applies to online gaming, sports, fair contests, to every aspect where element of luck is involved, including chess. So in that sense, randomness and gaming, could you tell us more about that tweet? What you learned from that workshop and
exactly.
Yeah.
By the way, this workshop was organized by an Oracle organization, Supra in this particular case. However, the head there is one of the most famous cryptographers in the world, Aniket K. And he invited all of the big names in cryptography to talk about how we can do transparent randomness. Because, everybody has participated in the lottery. There are many situations where people are gambling, all of the things that sometimes even if you flip a coin, who is playing white or black on chess plays a role. Go see statistics. If you have white on chess, you have by far better opportunity, probability to win. So randomness is in many aspects. Gaming, of course. But gaming is not the only thing, right? There might be random audits for which you need randomness again. There might be so many things. And then all of the cryptographers who are in the space, who have published work, significant work in the space, we gathered together and we discussed, okay, what's the future of randomness on the blockchain? And there are at least 3-4 methods where people can do randomness. I can list them very quickly, and I will tell you what my view is on how this will go. So one of them is you are using, for example, the next block of the Bitcoin that you cannot predict, right? What will be the hash of the block? If you cannot predict it, probably this is enough to have a lottery based on this. But this is slow. You cannot wait 10 minutes to get the block, right? And proof of stake protocols typically are prone to the leader being able to affect the transactions that go to the block. So you want to avoid the blocks, right? It's a good idea up to a point, and maybe for lotteries. So this is one way. There is another way where you say, okay, there are hash functions, or there are some other functions that we call them verifiable delayed functions. You put some public data there, and you require 3 minutes to do calculations on top of the other sequentially until you get the result. It's similar to what we mentioned before. How do you predict the block if you cannot do mining, very quickly? It's the same thing, but you don't need blocks anymore. You just need public data, and everybody is doing the operations. Eventually, like the one who is computing it will find like a final value after, 1 trillion invocations, and we say nobody could predict this before, so we consider this is random, right? This is also slow, though.
Yeah.
As you see, again, you cannot play poker with this.
Yeah.
We're transacting like cards
Yeah.
every moment. And then there is oracles, like you have oracles providing randomness. They're very, very quick on providing randomness, but now you have to pay the oracles, right, to do that. Nobody will do it for free. And the final solution is the blockchains themselves, the modern blockchains, to have an internal randomness API in the language. So you're writing a smart contract and you say .rng. I don't want to care how, like, about complex mathematics and all of this stuff. I want the validators to produce something that is unbiasable. And this is what like few blockchains at the moment are working on. And I believe Sui is leading this because along with this randomness, there are some interesting features you can do. You don't know it, but the modern cryptography that is producing randomness from a committee of servers can help us to have time capsules. You can use the randomness that will be output whenever it's outputted, like in one day, to encrypt messages in the future. So I encrypt messages from now to that day. So the idea is, from randomness, we realized, for the first time, we might have blockchains that have real randomness on chain. Very quickly, you're writing this on the smart contract. No waits, instantly, you get randomness. But at the same time, we realized, with randomness now, we get some extra features that were not possible before. And you will see time capsules in the blockchain will be possible because we have randomness generators on the blockchain. Which is crazy. Which
is really crazy, actually. This opens up so many things that are not possible now. It's incredible.
Exactly. So as you can see, all of the people there, we gathered together, we identified all of the schemes that we have. Very good ideas. I also learned a lot. You will see even us improving. Sui is already having on testnet randomness, and we're going to have on mainnet very quickly randomness from the validators, but also expect some other cool features like identity-based encryption, like encrypt to an identity, and also time-release encryption, encrypt to the time, like to the future.
Crazy. Yeah, that's what people would do with such features. Like, that is pretty crazy.
The very easy thing that you can do personally in your podcast is you can make a prediction. You don't tell us anything. You encrypt it. And then in 1 year, we will see if your bet works.
That's cool. And you also mentioned during the randomness and cryptography workshop that as of now, the situation is something like fully homomorphic encryption. FHE is computationally so intensive that people are tinkering with it, but there is no usable products on it. So it's still somewhere in the theoretical, and people are tinkering with it, that kind of realm. And we also does not have real-time ZK proof generation. We are still a bit away from it. Even the provability has got cheaper and cheaper, but proof generation is still not real-time. But you were mentioning, what I've learned is that from blockchain perspective, the TPS, the throughput, does not affect with the computational complexity of ZK and FHE. And that opens up a lot of possibilities. What do you mean by that?
Okay. It was cryptic for a reason. I don't know if I want to reveal everything now, but I will give you some hints, right? So typically on the blockchain, you verify. You're not generating.
Yeah.
Which means that people can generate off-chain. By the time they're generating, they're all submitting their proofs, or they're submitting post-quantum signatures, or fully homomorphic encryption stuff, anything that is happening. What's the main problem that we face today with most of the designs of the blockchains? They're not scalable at the node level. Like everything is running in one service.
Yeah.
Our system is built in a way that we can add workers faster and better than most of the other systems out there. Imagine now if you had a system that can operate in multiple servers with all of the compressions that we do in cryptography and like the evolution on ZK and all of this stuff. Eventually, we will end up in an environment where the cost to verify cryptographic statements is not affecting TPS because you can delegate it. You can delegate it either to cryptography, like ZK, or you can delegate it either to multi-machines. And now something I personally see is the evolution of machine learning, AI, and all of this stuff, which made it possible very recently for many cryptographers to also work on GPUs and other situations. We can also delegate in the same machine in a different part of the engine, right? The GPU now. So we're getting into an environment where it's not just one CPU or a set of CPUs, like virtual CPUs and all of this stuff, running the blockchain per node, per validator. It might be a coordination inside each node that you will be able to run by far more computations than we were familiar with in the past. And I already got some very promising results. And this is one of the elements, by the way, that we discussed at the very beginning. You need a team from both cryptography, hardcore engineering, and consensus to work together to have such a system. Just a cryptographer couldn't do that.
Exactly.
Right?
This is where multidisciplinary.
Disciplinary, yes.
Yes,
exactly.
Multidisciplinary approach, yeah.
Exactly. And because of this, we created some work streams internally to explore how we can make the blockchain to be as fast as it was with the infrastructure we had before, that was not blockchain, it was literally cloud and all of this stuff. And you see Walrus and other things that you see on availability and storage. All of this as a whole is a way to achieve this, right? It's not a single innovation that you can make it work. You need all of this together to have such a powerful tool that you can run pretty much every computation gradually on the blockchain. Now, we're still getting faster, of course, as we explained before. We have the oracles giving information into the blockchain. We have zero knowledge proofs that you are verifying something faster than executing it on the chain. Imagine if we make very powerful delegation of execution on the validators, right? It will be a completely different field, and you will see new innovations coming. We see it with internet, right? We started with, 14.4 kilobps connections in the past. Then we moved to ADSL, we moved to satellite, we moved to different places. Now you can transfer gigabytes per second, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In some settings. The same will happen with blockchain. Same. If you ask my prediction, it's just a few years away.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's crazy. When you said delegation of execution to validators, did you mean the pilotfish protocol?
It's a new method. Pilotfish was one way to do it, and we now identified another way to do it. And they can also work together. I had this question actually to Alberto and Lefteris, our heads of consensus innovation. All of these tools, including another one, they can all work together. That's a crazy stuff. We have Pilotfish, and Pilotfish obviously introduces workers for some operations and consensus. Now we have another system. I will not mention the name yet, although you've seen it on Twitter. You've seen the name on Twitter, so go do some digging. And there is a third one as well that I heard from one of our interns yesterday in one of the very innovative. Every intern that comes to Mysten, I'm telling you, it's a jaw-dropping situation. These people who are selecting people, obviously cherry picking, but they're working on things that will reshape the field. And people who are coming to Mysten, they're working directly with the names that I mentioned to you, even my team, in cryptography, where we're moving so fast and we're having some of the best publications in the world just because everybody in our blood is innovation. I mean, if you see the innovation rate in any other blockchain, after the Ethereum evolution, I don't believe there is any other team that is innovating in so many spaces on parallel, right? Because as we explained before, to achieve this, you need multidisciplinary, collaborative work. This can only be found in collaborations between universities, but we have them inside Mysten. I believe we will be in a state very quickly that the blockchains will be so powerful where you can run crazy executions that was not possible before. Previously, you could only do with oracles. Now, obviously there will be some period, like, maturity period, where all of this system become like useful enough and production ready. But at the moment, there are at least 5 people working on these elements, and I'm super, super happy with the result that I see today. And I'm telling you, I'm not replacing pilot fees. The team is not replacing pilot fees. It's another optimization.
Helps you to do all this complex computation with FHE and CK, and something in a way that does not affect the throughput of the whole system.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you manage to run very expensive computations for new cryptography. What is a new cryptography? Very recently, the National Institute of Standard Technology in the US, they had all of these competitions about post-quantum cryptography. What will happen to cryptography when we have quantum computers? And nobody, realistically, even if I did it in one of my previous projects, personally, nobody's using post-quantum at a large scale, especially for low latency, high TPS blockchains. We might have a chance as SUI, from the experimental results that I see now, to be able to introduce this very complex or expensive cryptography into the system without affecting TPS. That's the magic sauce here, right? Because you can always say what we discussed before, right? In 10 minutes, yes, you can have it. How you can make it without affecting your system and having very advanced cryptography. I think I'm more positive now than I was 2 years ago. It is technically possible.
Moving on to the next topic. Last week, you announced Walrus. And Walrus is a data storage and data availability system for SUI. What is Walrus and why Walrus matters for SUI?
Look, we discussed just before about the execution, right? Typically, for large execution, you need to find new systems, new ways of allowing this. But what do you do with storage? Because at the same time, at the block, each block of the blockchain cannot be super huge. And imagine people now want to transfer videos, music, websites, anything that you can think of that might be very heavy in terms of bytes that you want to store. We need to find a solution, right? Although SUI is very cheap, very fast, low latency, you cannot have at the moment files of 1 gigabyte in a transaction. There is a limit on the transactions of SUI on any blockchain, most blockchains. So we had to work on availability layer and storage layer. And this is also a work that typically happened from George, my co-founder, George Danezis, because you need a consensus system here, right? It's mostly a design of a system rather than cryptography and all of this stuff. There is some cryptography there involved, but the whole situation is this system is using the benefits of SUI for all of the coordination and everything. However, the storage is happening very efficiently with some compression mechanisms that the team is working on. And this will help us having cheaper storage than all of the rest, right? This is the benefit. So if you manage to do a system where you don't need to store n copies for your data to be available. At the same time, you have some BFT guarantees and other things. This is the magic element where Walrus will make a difference in the space. Now it works very well with SUI, and I think the team is working also on more interesting features on top of secure storage. And I have a feeling that this can get into a space where previously we were talking about execution of complex computations. Now, gradually, you're solving also the problem of storage and availability, which was very difficult on the blockchains. Most blockchains are delegating to IPFS, Arweave,
exactly.
all of the other places. If you manage to make something, however, that works really well with your system, because IPFS and Arweave are not Ethereum, right? Obviously, they have their own. But now, because we're the creators of SUI, from the engineering side, we can generate a new system for storage that takes advantage of all of this, right? And this can run with SUI in a by far better compatibility way than anything else. Imagine it as Apple. There is Apple, and Apple is producing a new system that works great with iPhones. It's the same thing here, right? I mean, no IPFS could do it because IPFS was designed before SUI that can be as optimized to take advantage of
I
all of
can
the SUI
totally
features.
understand that
This is what
analogy
we did.
because every time I have to connect a non-Apple headset to my iPhone, it's way different than connecting my AirPods because when I open it, it's already connected, right? So I can feel,
Yeah,
okay, this is what it looks like. It looks a bit more magic-like because it's created to integrate with that system. So that way,
exactly. Look, for this to have happened, you needed the team that created the original SUI to have some brainstorming around
yeah. And
how now we
there was
solve the
also
storage
one
part.
thing about making API calls like atomically composable. There was like atomic composition of API calls is an interesting primitive that does not exist with conventional APIs, this ticket and hotel problem. And I feel like there's this one set of problem that you're also working with this API. And I saw that you also commented on it.
Yeah. So there were many questions about, I think this was about Solana and how, and then Sam, our CTO, replied to this tweet, right? And then I also researched this tweet. Look, the atomicity and the way Move was designed to also allow some transactions to be able to run as an atomic element, like atomic block of transactions into the blockchain. And this is super useful, right? Because eventually you also need, I will give you some like other example, but then you will understand the full concept. So for example, SUI supports this concept of PTP, like programmable transactions. Sometimes you want to buy something from one place and then you sell it to a different exchange and then you sell it to another place, like flash loans and all of these situations, right? And you want this to happen atomically, because if it doesn't happen atomically, then you have a problem of maybe one of your transactions will succeed and the other will fail, and then you are left with a position that cannot be matched with something else, right? This is huge, because if you can solve this, where people can make multiple commands in one signature, in one transaction, then there is no fear that some of your positions will be uncovered. Either all of them succeed or all of them fail. And this opens new doors on DeFi, right? Because people can now buy from one. You will see many aggregators in SUI, like many DeFi companies, allowing you to buy SUI, then sell USDT, then do something else, and then at the end of all of the transactions, you are making some profit. And this is huge, and it's also in the realm of like atomicity, right? And if without this feature, you wouldn't be able to do it. And with the regular banking today, this is not solvable. That's one of the features of the blockchain offering to the world. Atomicity. How do you buy something in one exchange and you sell it on another exchange today? You cannot do it.
Vitalik was
in the real
about
world.
Synchronous atomic composability is overrated. And I was thinking, no, it's actually not, because if you look how systems evolve from how VM works and how SUI VM works, SUI has atomic composability, and this is important. This is more like a developer-oriented feature because it enables the developer to build like really integrated cool things, and for users also beneficial.
Yeah, in my opinion, atomicity is in many situations is a very important feature, because it unlocks some of the barriers that we used to have in the traditional banking, traditional transactions. Even when you are buying a house and other situations, you have to use an escrow agent, right? You cannot easily do it today. Now, with very smart like implementations on the design of the blockchains, I explained to you before, you as an individual, you can have a transaction now that can only succeed if all of the operations, the atomic operations internally that are independent originally, but they are part of the full block, are working together. That's one of the way. But there are more things that the Move team is working internally that can actually give you like more guarantees than you used to have in the past. That's another thing that people have to consider when they're picking a blockchain.
I was asking like this about the overlap between AI and crypto and cryptography, because you worked in all these fields. So what's your insight there? Because you're the perfect person to ask this question.
Yes. So something that is interesting is Mysten Labs already has a small team on artificial intelligence and machine learning. Why Mysten Labs, and why we started originally with AI? Because of security. We said at the very beginning that, okay, there is Solidity, and then Move was an evolution of Solidity, like a better language, more safe, and all of the other like features that we have. If you are a new language, they're not necessarily like all of the existing tools that exist in the like last 5-6 years for Ethereum and so on. You have to introduce some AI methodology to ensure that you're finding bugs very quickly, and even like during the construction of a smart contract to help developers finding issues and so on. So we created a tool that we presented actually in both Coinbase and Google, that we call Bagdar, like Bug Radar. And this is using artificial intelligence to be able to identify any security issues in the code, like the DApp code that you are uploading, not necessarily smart contracts, all of the like decentralized application. Because, you know, typically it's the smart contract, but it's also the web app on the top. There is other things like backends that you might need to have as a DApp developer and so on. So we created this team internally, and then we realized, oh, many big companies are actually interested now because we have a security tool that managed to identify some multi-million attacks in the space. We personally found with this tool attacks in other blockchains and in other smart contracts and even in other financial institutes. I had a slide where I even mentioned one of the attacks that we identified was $1 billion attack.
Wow.
So technically, AI at the moment, with some good guidance and like implementation of the models, can help you audit smart contracts and audit applications. I had a small fear at the very beginning that all of the open source projects will be prone to attacks, automated attacks now, that everybody has access to like tools like Gemini, ChatGPT, you know, all of the LLMs out there. And we try to utilize them plus some new models that we have internally, like trained models, to do the security like audits and finding vulnerabilities. Originally testing them elsewhere, and now we're also testing them in Sui. So definitely, in my opinion, every team that is doing open source coding, they need some LLM to at least do some security audits before this thing goes out, in the literally launching it. So apart from this, which means that there is already a team internally working on this, then we realize that many companies now with Walrus, with Walrus you can have like big data on chain somehow, like publicly decentralized. This is a very good application for AI models where people might have either their data or like some operations, some models there that they want to share with other people. You create a new marketplace of very big amounts of data and all of this stuff. You need storage, and you also need the blockchain for the ownership part, because this is like transferable data with permissions. So I see at least 3 or 4 particular use cases between crypto and AI. One is security. We need to have AI for security purposes on chain. The other is as a layer of ownership and permission, literally transferring as a marketplace to transfer all of the new data that is appearing now. And we will see if after we start having LLMs, more people will start sharing data between them and actually monetizing from this. So blockchain is the ideal, obviously the natural place to do this stuff. You don't want to give this ability to a very big organization that eventually they have access to all of this data, right? We have to use a decentralized system. There is the other thing, which is verifiable AI on chain. And I've seen a few companies doing this, which means that even if you're executing some AI inference application on the Oracle side, like outside the blockchain, you have to prove to the blockchain that this was an output of AI. Otherwise, imagine what's happening now with ChatGPT. Let's go Gemini or ChatGPT. You're asking a question, and with the same prompt, as many times as you ask, you will probably get a different output, right? How do you know? There are 2 things to protect. First, was this an output of ChatGPT or was an output of Kostas? How do you know? There is no way to know, right? If it was AI. And the second thing, we have to ensure that you didn't try it 20 times and you got the output that works for you. So even if something is AI, you need to use the blockchain or somehow something from the blockchain to provide determinism, or at least some information from that will reduce bias on the output. You remember you asked this question about randomness on chain in the past?
Yeah.
How this can be useful? Because we can have randomness as a seed to do all of the randomness inside the output of the LLM. right? So you literally, when you are having a prompt, because all of the execution might be randomized, that's how you're also getting different answers every single time. You can get verifiable randomness from the chain. So we know that the response that we got from this model cannot be changed. Every single time you're asking it, you're going to get the same output. Otherwise, imagine you can have like very interesting CryptoKitty applications like NFTs that they're evolving using an AI agent. There is no way we can make it safe if it's not verifiable AI. So verifiability on AI. The verifiability has many aspects of cryptography that can be used from the blockchain. Security using AI, marketplace for AI elements is definitely three operations that I personally see the blockchain will definitely be the place where this will happen. Now there are even more, like we will see other things happening with AI. Probably you will see people using the blockchain, and with AI plus, I don't know, zkLogin and some identity, we can verify a few things happened by a combination of Kostas asking a question and the AI providing an output on top of Kostas. And you will see many things happening. But in my opinion, these three layers, sharing of data and marketplace, security, and verifiable AI will be things that we will see very soon. Actually, I know at least of 5-6 startups that emerged working on something around this.
That also combines blockchain with it.
Yes, crypto and AI.
Crypto
and these three elements that I mentioned before are the three most dominant ideas that I've seen lately in the last 6 months. Believe me, after the AI, like the LLM evolution started and it became mainstream, obviously, even if you go to VCs and other places, a combination of crypto and AI as a startup is a killer application at the moment, right? Because we don't know what new application can emerge from this.
Yeah.
So obviously, you will see many startups switching or pivoting to AI, mostly because of funding opportunities, but also because the space is still like raw. It's not super mature yet. So there is a space where you can probably shine. You can probably find your own position there.
Yeah, and AI is also like a running this algorithm is also a very computationally expensive thing.
Yeah.
So going back to our previous point, or how you made the point, okay, FHE and CK, there's a way to do all this without affecting the throughput of the chain. So taking the same concept, you can also integrate like this AI, all those computations, and also with the blockchain like Sui. With
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. Like this depends especially like on the scalability factor that you want to add on the horizontal scalability, because at the same time you don't want to have 1 million servers running as one validator, right?
Yeah.
So you have
to be too much.
Yes, that would be too much, and it would be too expensive to run it. But I can see a place where like AI might be even more expensive than ZK, especially for verification. I can see a space where some of the operations will eventually run on the blockchain if we know how to do it. Also, there is a small difference between ZK and AI. Most of the AI operations are happening on GPUs, right? So we have to extend the model even on the validator side to allow GPUs, right? But this is a step ahead, because even the validators in most blockchains, I know this business because I'm interacting with many even before Sui. They're not necessarily technically capable, right? They're running it. You trust them that they are doing the correct thing, but it's not that everybody knows how to run a network of 100 servers, right? It's also this part that you have to solve, which is like the human element.
Yeah.
But I see a space where some of the LLMs, with the help of ZK plus compression techniques that I mentioned before and scalability, might be possible on the blockchain really soon. If not the biggest models, some of the models will be.
Cool. You can already see it converging, and I can as far as a multidisciplinary approach goes, I think Mysten Labs is the team that has all these capabilities, and it's really mind-blowing to know that you already have this AI team in Mysten Labs.
Yeah, I'm very happy for this. I'm very happy for the fact that we're leading at least the security part of AI on chain.
And finally, getting into insights on your personal project. So I have read your tweet once. So you are building a personal. So maybe I just should read the tweet.
Of course.
Yeah. So I'm creating a modern cryptography and AI innovation hub in Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
What is this personal project of yours? What are you trying to build, and why in this geography? Because I feel like there's some leverage there. So could you break it down?
Yes, of course. By the way, there is a reason I'm personally traveling to Dubai very often, and I realized that many of the important deals in the space are happening there because of close proximity from many important markets. And these important markets is India, it's Europe, it's Africa, and generally Asia, right? Because India is the closest one, like a big market. But in general, it's a place where, because, many things matter. The fact that there is an airport, that most of the airlines are landing there.
Yeah.
And it's like the connecting flight hub for everything. If it's a connecting flight hub, I don't see why it shouldn't be a crypto hub. And there is also a culture, right? There is a culture that is very friendly with all of the innovation and the crypto. And there is also situations where many startups are going there to get funded, not necessarily from the locals, but because everybody is meeting there. You can use this as a place where you can have events. And it's very important, if you have a hub, to be able to be in a place where the events are some of the best experiences that you faced before, right, in the past. And I wanted to be in a place where, first, it's very friendly. Second, I can have the support from the local community, and there is a local community there. Like I've been many times, and I've worked with many startups. There is a place where if I want to organize one of the best events, I can find support as well. And also, it's cheap to go there. Believe me or not, that if it's a connecting flight, either Abu Dhabi or Dubai, now you can have, I don't know, I'm Greek originally, right? From Greece, there are four or five flights. There is no, I don't know, per day. I'm not sure if there is any other place in Asia where you can have so many flights. So from Europe, even in the US, there is a San Francisco Dubai direct flight. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I've taken this flight many times in my life.
That's a big convenience. Yeah, I don't
It's
understand that.
convenience, and there is also the friendliness on the crypto space. Many startups are there, right? I mean, exchanges are there. There are like many, as I explained before, many deals are happening. There is also a local community. I wouldn't say mostly on the developer side, but I can imagine on the financial element of the blockchains, even running a campaign or something. There are influencers there. There is a community that can actually help you build it in a way that is like everybody is opening their hands and they hug you because you're offering something to the local community. Plus, it's a center of the world at the moment. How many hubs do you know about crypto today? I'm asking you. Right? How many hubs do you know?
Maybe it's Dubai one, Singapore, I think is one, and that's it.
Yeah, I only had two options. Because of this, I said, look, Singapore also is also like a sender mostly on this part of Asia. Don't be surprised if you see me having a tweet. I'm also building a hub in Singapore. So I'm starting with Dubai now that I know I can have more influence, like personally, and I'm in close proximity between like my family, the US. There are direct flights, all of this stuff. It helps me a lot, and I met already some people who will help me. Right? I won't be alone. Nobody can do it alone. That's the reality. So that's why Dubai and Abu Dhabi in general.
And what is the core aim of this crypto innovation hub? What kind of output are you looking at?
By the way, already at least one algorithm that are working at the moment, I named it the Dubai algorithm in my brain because I figured out how to solve the problem while I was there. And this was around playing. Okay, I can give you a hint. It's interesting. I'm working on an off-chain, on-chain protocol now with zero RTT. You don't even go to the validators.
Stateless? So it's
stateless on behalf of the global state. There is a state between the users, right? But yeah. So anyway, we had the very first experiment with Damir. Damir is the guy who created the Book of Move. And we already had an outcome.
Is it the Move guy?
Yes, the move guy.
Yeah. Okay.
I was there with the move guy, and we created the Dubai algorithm.
Yeah. I saw that. I saw that tweet.
Yeah, exactly. So cryptography, AI, and probably some protocols for DeFi will be the things that you will see coming from this particular place.
Cool.
And I'm already building the infrastructure. We got an office, by the way. I found an office in the space in this area. And I had some support from the local community to even help me to set up things, blah, blah. I have a personal office in Dubai now. It's I'm super happy. And I go and, I'm very obsessed with all of the time that you're losing while commuting and all of this stuff. And I found a place where there is a hotel in like 30 steps outside the office. So people can come and stay during the events. I try to organize it as like in the
Easy as
best
possible.
way.
Yeah.
Yes, for convenience for people to join the hub.
Cool.
You are also invited, by the way. I will invite you officially. I will invite it. It's not that I'm building it.
Oh, it's already started.
I've built it. Yeah.
Cool. So I can't imagine how many millions of miles you will be having.
I travel a lot. That's an unfortunate because I have two kids. One of them Kryptos, like the older one.
Really?
Yes.
Surname is Kryptos? Okay.
If I had his passport here, now he's with his mother. But yeah, he's Kryptos.
Because you're Greek. Because you're Greek.
It's a Greek word. It sounds Greek because it is Greek.
No, but I can imagine that's middle name that you acquired because of your cryptography specialist. But if you say it's like Kostas Kryptos, it sounds like a normal Greek name.
Yes, exactly. No, that's the reality. Like people are trying to figure out why the name. And there is an interesting story about this. So before I joined Facebook, I was one of the biggest consortia from many big banks. It was called R3 Corda. I was leading cryptography there, and it was also the first protocol that used post-quantum signatures as well in the world back then, as a combination with ECDSA and hash-based schemes. But anyway, I had a bet with my former employer, like the director of the company, general manager. If you name your kid Kryptos, I will give you the best bonus possible in the company. And then, as you can imagine, I had a discussion with my wife, and there was no... there was a debate. This was my most difficult project in my life, but I convinced her, and now I own some crypto that I gave to my son directly to his wallet, and he has a wallet since the day he was born. Yeah.
Cool.
And this was my bonus. The whole bonus went to his wallet.
Perfect.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's a great story, actually. Yeah. And it's a coincidence that you are now in crypto, actually.
It is. Again, it's a chicken and an egg. I was in crypto. I was in crypto. Then I named my son Kryptos, and now it's part of my family tree. It's good to have the name Kryptos in family.
Yes.
So yeah. So that's why I'm super happy. I'm all in. By the way, if you see all of my tweets and everything, like all of my life is about transparency, fairness, and bias. There is no other place I would be. Like obviously, I was in AI because AI again. I wanted to help, humanity in the future and optimize things. I like optimization as a concept. I live with that. But the crypto space, apart from all of these things that we do with trading and all of these things, has to offer so much substance into the evolution of humanity, in my opinion, that I cannot ignore it, right? I mean, if I had some expertise on some small field on this bigger space, I had to sacrifice my career on this, and this is what I'm doing.
Cool. That is a fantastic place to conclude this part of the conversation, and I'm so glad that you're working on this. And today we got to discuss a lot of very interesting stuff. So thank you so much.
Kostas. Always available for you, Suraj, and thank you for inviting me. And I'm closing this at the name of the protocol that we mentioned before that works with pilot fish. It's also a name of a fish species. And I'm closing here.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I'll make a giveaway to find the name.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in. If you are keen on getting deeper insights about Web3 tech, our newsletter, Just the Metrics, is just what you need. It's packed with valuable information and it's completely free. You can subscribe by clicking the link in the video description. It's a great way to keep up with the latest in the Web3 space straight to your inbox. And before you go, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates and insights. Your support is what keeps these videos coming. So see you in the next video.